DStv 47, the home of untold stories.
Ramadan Mubarak to all Muslims. Good evening. On the news tonight. Police in Kiambu investigating another case of a woman thrown from the second floor of an apartment building during a night of merrymaking. Irate residents of Kiambu evict construction workers from Kariminu 2 Dam construction site over unpaid compensation monies amounting to 2.2 billion shillings. Plus, tonight we tell you the damning figures that show the COVID-19 infection curve is falling in the red zone but steadily rising in the neighboring countries. And tonight we shall also tell you why Professor Patricia Kameri Mbote is convinced she has what it takes to be the next Chief Justice of Kenya. Ann Wairimu is our sign language interpreter. Good evening. I'm Abu Bakr Abdullahi. Welcome to the broadcast. To our top story tonight, and the interviews to seek Kenya's next Chief Justice entered the second day today. The second candidate to face the Judicial Service Commission panel was Professor Patricia Kameri Mbote, a law lecturer who was hard pressed to explain why she fits to replace retired Chief Justice David Maraga. Joash Onsare begins our broadcast tonight.
Tuesday morning, and the Judicial Service Commission interviewed Professor Patricia Kameri Mbote for the position of the Chief Justice. The law lecturer was put to task to explain her understanding of the operations of the judiciary, considering she has never worked at the judiciary, unlike other candidates who had been shortlisted. She, however, dismissed the assertions, defending herself as having trained judges.
And you know what it has contributed to being where we are at today.
I would be lying if I said I know exactly your management culture, because if you're not wearing the shoes, it is difficult to know how the culture works. I can only talk about it as an outsider.
She says she will acquire other skills on the job, as well as liaising with other members of the judiciary in making decisions. On the cold relationship between the executive and the judiciary under retired CJ David Maraga's tenure, Mbote says she will initiate a dialogue with the president to restore the already torn relation. Among the biggest standoff between the two was the failure by the president to appoint 41 judges, as well as the budget cut at the judiciary.
What is your solution or proposal to resolve the dilemma of the 41 judges?
I would be talking to the president, you see now, as the head of the one arm of government, as the Chief Justice. I would approach the Chief Justice, the President, to get this matter unstuck.
The professor of law, however, accused the executive of failing to honor court orders, something she says she will streamline.
So I would actually talk to the different arms of government about all of us working in concert to ensure that the rule of law is abided by everybody, because failure to abide by the rule of law doesn't hurt just one institution, it hurts the whole country.
Professor Patricia was hard-pressed to defend herself on allegations of using a colleague's concept in the university to get funding from an international foundation.
It did involve Professor Migai, and there was going to be an output to that work, which was going to be a book co-edited by myself and him. But because his name was not on the concept, he didn't want to work on it, and we gave the money back for the book.
Do you think it was an omission, and are you acknowledging that? Because I would like to know whether you are acknowledging that there was maybe an oversight.
I was using the Ford Foundation template for converting. I mean, and you know, the concept was just what is the idea.
Court of Appeal Judge Martha Koome is set to face the panel Wednesday on the third day of the interviews. Joash Onsare, TV47, Nairobi.
Elsewhere, senators have approved the division of revenue bill that allocates counties 370 billion shillings as the equitable share. This means the devolved units will get an extra 50 billion shillings in the 2021-2022 financial year compared to the last financial year.
Senators have approved a 370 billion Kenya shillings equitable share to the counties in the 2021-2022 financial year. This is an additional of 50 billion Kenya shillings from the previous allocation. With the allocation, the devolved units will now get an accumulated amount of 409.88 billion Kenya shillings in the financial year. This comprises of 370 billion as equitable share, 7.53 billion as conditional allocations from the share of national government, and conditional allocations from loans and grants amounting to that 2.34 billion Kenya shillings.
We might be here sitting down and patting our shoulders and saying we have done a good job as a Senate, but guess what? This country will now have a deficit of 384 billion. What does that translate to? More debt, more taxes. So really, we cannot have our cake, we can't bake it and eat it. We have to be factual. What we are doing here, we are doing a good job in fighting for more money to go to counties. But we also have to be cognizant of the fact that during a pandemic period, when the government cannot raise more money, there is no money that goes to the county government.
My only concern is that we have been having World Bank support through infrastructural support. But unfortunately, World Bank has not been doing a lot to ensure that the counties who get money in terms of infrastructure improvement also ensure, Madam Speaker, that that money is used within the provisions of the law.
Senators, however, calling on the county governments to make use of the monies. They further raised concerns over lack of a framework on conditional grants.
I've reiterated that conditional grants have given our committee endless problems. Endless because, Madam Speaker, there is no policy or framework on conditional grants, when they are negotiated, why they are negotiated, and how they are given to counties, respective counties. And I will just pick two. The conditional grant on medical leasing equipment, if the proposal by the court was law, would not have been done in the way it was done.
We have to urge county governments to ensure that they prioritize usage of these funds to the most needed sectors of the economy of our county governments, Madam Speaker. Namely, to begin with health, and especially at this time when the country is battling coronavirus, Madam Speaker, as a pandemic.
An intergovernmental budget and economic council chaired by Deputy President William Ruto early this year agreed on the allocation.
So we have got a lot of money on the that the contractors have not received. This one should be taken seriously, Madam Speaker, and it should be checked.
Meanwhile, governors have been accusing the National Treasury of delaying in the disbursement of the funds, delaying services in counties.
Moving on, police in Kiambu are probing an instance in which a woman was allegedly thrown off the second floor of an apartment in Dendagwa, Kiambu County, by her suspected lover on Saturday night. This as the suspect, a KDF officer identified as Vincent, was released on bond after being arraigned on the night of the alleged assault, while the victim, having sustained serious injuries, is currently receiving treatment at Kenyatta National Hospital. This comes amid a spike in cases where partners have fallen into the arms of their loved ones, some for bad in recent times. David Mudhoka has the details.
Just a few minutes past 10 p.m. on Saturday night, inside this Savo apartment at the Ndigwa, Kiambu County, tenants were awakened by a splash of broken glass that was in a split second, followed by a loud thud. On the concrete ground floor lay a woman who seemed to have fallen through the glass window of one of the rooms upstairs. Allegedly, she had been thrown off a room located on the second floor, belonging to a KDF officer only identified as Vincent, and who had hosted the victim at his place for a night of merrymaking.
The room had liquor bottles everywhere, and of course they had their own good time.
2 hours later, the victim, in an unresponsive state, was whisked away by an ambulance to the Kenyatta National Hospital's ICU section, while the suspect was placed behind bars at the Kiambu police station. Fast forward to Tuesday, the victim is still receiving treatment at the Kenyatta National Hospital as investigators continue to probe the case that has been a topic of discussion on social media lately.
They came, secured the scene of crime, took the information, and the next day the military police also visited the place, and even yesterday they were still here.
According to the officers, who have since released the suspect on bond, two scenarios might have led to the near-death experience for the woman, whose departure from her alleged boyfriend's room happened in the unlikeliest of ways, in the back of an ambulance. One, the woman might have indeed been thrown off the building after an altercation pitting the lovers, or the victim, in a drunken stupor, might have partied her way through the glass window. The case comes weeks after another woman suffered the same fate, this time from the 12th floor of a building in Nairobi's Central Business District. 20-year-old Eunice Wangari was thrown by her boyfriend, whom she met on Facebook, from the 12th floor of Ambank House before landing heavily on the building's 9th floor with serious pelvic injuries.
As a woman battles for her life in hospital, police in Kiambu insist there are always two sides to a story, and that it is her recount that will solve the puzzle of what particularly happened behind those gates on that fateful Saturday night. David Mudhoka, TV47, Kiambu County.
Thank you, David Mudhoka, for that report. You are watching TV47 News Tonight. Keep talking to us. Time for us to take a short break. We'll be back with more right after this break.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories. Home of Untold Stories. As the country gears up for possible BBI referendum and 2022 general elections.
As the salvos enter too familiar territory,
William Ruto will serve his 5 years term as the deputy president.
Pundits Night is here to give you powerful, thought-provoking political commentaries.
The mountain can produce a country.
Give Moses Kuria a chance to respond. Let me ask you this. Are you not taking advantage of first my situation?
You talk about the people with the ultimate power.
Kikuyus will vote for somebody from outside their community to be the next president of this country.
We talk to the newsmakers, the opinion shapers, and the pundits.
Fair enough. I believe
As we dissect everything you need to know to make an informed decision. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates.
The position of the Prime Minister will go to a party with the most elected members.
I clearly know that neither Raila nor Ruto are in the work plan on the roadmap for transition as far as the government is concerned.
Informative health discussions, business, farming, Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs, and music bands.
Back to the seasons of my youth.
Every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Did you know that your business keeps our economy running?
You need the skill, not the papers.
Always tell yourselves, one day at a time. You can't do everything under one roof.
Over time, I've had to realize that good things take time.
The Grind, every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Before the markets open, farmers begin their day, each with a desire to produce the best. But how can they increase the numbers, maintain the standards,
Aitoi ile garlic inafaa itoi, that standard garlic.
reduce the cost,
we spread our risk,
and yet remain the best? Kilimo Diaries, every Sunday when the clock hits 7:30 p.m. Chop, mix, steam, grill, fry. D7, the home of untold stories.
Thank you for choosing TV 47. Welcome back. Let's get to more news. And a fresh standoff has emerged over the construction of Karimenu 2 Dam Water Project in Gatundu North, Kiambu County. Angry residents stormed and ejected all workers out of the construction site over unsettled compensation dues. The locals forced out all excavator operators and construction workers out of the site in the full glare of armed police officers. Mwangi Maina has that drama tonight.
Irate Karimeno residents made their way into the site where Phase 2 of Karimeno Dam is being constructed, bringing everything to a standstill. The noise emanating from the excavators was drowned by the rowdy locals, who insisted that no construction will continue, lest they receive their compensation in full. These backhoes and excavators were driven out of the site in a fresh row of unsettled compensation of 2.2 billion Kenya shillings that was to be paid out by last year as the government acquired 383 more acres in this part of Kiambu County. The aggrieved locals claim that the government has failed to honor its promise of disbursing their dues months after they were promised a full payment.
Tukaambiwa ikifika mwisho wa mwezi wa 3 tutalipwa, na mwezi wa 3 umefika, sasa ni mwezi wa 4 inaelekea kuisha, hatujaona kitu. Tukienda huko kwa bank tunaambiwa mashamba yetu tayari yamechukuliwa na serikali.
Ujenzi ya damu sasa imesimama kabisa na itasimama, itaendelea kusimama hata kama ni mwaka mzima mpaka kila mtu alipwe. Kila mtu yote ambaye amehudhuria na hii damu alipwe pesa kwanza pesa yake. Pia diversion ya barabara tupewe mahali tutakipitia. Kwa hivyo sisi tuko ready na tutaendelea na mpaka hata kesho na kesho kutwa hata mwezi mzima.
The inside locals claim that the Chinese contractor has already started excavating their land and have now threatened to keep guard their property until they are fully paid. They have decried that the government has impoverished them as they can no longer farm on their land or put up new structures.
Alikuja akachukua masaba zetu, mbiti tukakata. Vitu yote ilikuwa masaba tulikuwa tunakula hata madizi tulikata. Wakatopia amenunua mashamba. Wakagazeti masaba, wakatupea makaratasi ingine wanasema ni awadi, wanasema ni cheki feki, hatupatagi pesa, tuko na miezi 6 na hiyo makaratasi kwa nyumba. Sasa tumeamua kufuga kasi kwa sababu badala ya kutulipa pesa wanakuja kuchukua masaba pale wanapea watu 50,000 ati wachukue mchanga ya kujenga ukuta.
We are not here to beg, we are just here to pass a message. The reality is the people of Gatono North, specifically Karemeno 2 Dam, they don't have an issue with the Chinese or anyone else. What they are demanding for their rights.
The locals are now a worried lot that the government has been scheming to deprive them of their ancestral land, which they vowed to protect at whatever cost. The construction of this dam began in 2019 and was expected to end in December 2020 and will cost the government 22 billion Kenya shillings. Mwangi Maina, TV 47.
Let's get to matters education now, and teachers have been urged to be at the forefront in receiving the COVID-19 vaccine. The Principal Secretary for Basic Education says the jab will protect them even as they prepare for schools reopening in May. Our Senior Education Affairs reporter Sharon Baranga now reports.
Despite government's efforts in trying to rally frontline workers to take the COVID-19 vaccine, some of them have been hesitant in taking the jab. Teachers are no exception. This prompted the Chief Executive Officer of Teachers Service Commission and Teachers Union leaders to take the jab publicly to encourage others to do so. Some accepted, but others are still being prompted by the government to accept the jab as it will protect them ahead of school reopening in May.
I mean, this is a public campaign. It is in the media, it is everywhere. Not just the teachers, but the teachers, security officers, the medical people, and people who are 58 and above. So that, and you saw that the uptake has gone up quite a bit that we hope that everybody will be covered before the first batch gets finished.
You are alone? No, we are two. Oh, you are not alone with them? No, we are two.
The PS was speaking from Bondo, where he was monitoring the distribution of examination papers. Today, the candidates sat for physics and geography exam.
We expect our chief examiners and assistant chief examiners to be traveling to Nairobi by the end of this week so that they start looking at the papers, they start doing the coordination of the papers before we finally bring in the team leaders and then finally the other examiners to come over to Nairobi.
Juan also noted that the school opening dates remain as it had been planned and that in case of any changes, the government will communicate to the country. Sharon Baranga, TV 47.
Now, the effects of the coronavirus pandemic continues to bite harder, and as such, many Kenyans have lost jobs and many businesses have closed shop. One such Kenyan is Tony Wangwalwa, and who was working as a chef, and his wife Angeline Murambi, who closed down her business in Mombasa. They spoke to our reporter Petronila Goren from Mombasa. Let's listen in.
It has been more than a year now since Tony Wangalwa lost his job as a chef at a local restaurant in Mombasa. He lost his job after the government announced a closure of hotels and restaurants to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in the country.
Kazi ambayo nilikuwa nafanya ni kazi ya hoteli ama chef.
Na sasa hiyo ndio imekuwa the first places ambayo ilikuwa inafungwa kabisa ili watu wasitangamane. Nikarudi nyumbani, ile pesa ambayo nilikuwa nayo kidogo nikaanza kukula. Nakula hiyo pesa na kuna nyingine mahali inakuja. Nikitarajia pengine hii mambo ya corona inawezaisha turudi kazi, kumbe bado.
Just like Wangalwa, majority of Kenyans have been affected by the pandemic, while some businesses have permanently been closed, while others are facing serious crises to stay afloat. Such is the case of Wangalwa's wife, Angeline Murambi. She has been unable to continue running her business. She used all her stock and savings to buy food to sustain her family during the early months of the pandemic.
Corona vile ilikuja, mambo na biashara yangu, nilikuwa nikiuza nguo kule side za VOK, biashara yangu ilisimama. Ile pesa nilikuwa nikiuza kidogo ya kuongeza stock ilikuwa inaenda kwa matibabu ya mtoto. Sasa sikuweza kuendelea na biashara yangu iliisha hivyo. Sasa hizi mimi nakaa tu hapa nyumbani.
For Wangalwa and his family, times are hard. They can now not afford medications for their son who is diagnosed with sickle cell anemia. These has turned them into beggars, forcing Wangalwa to seek help from politicians and well-wishers.
Kulingana na zile madawa ambayo mtoto anafaa kutumia each and every month, I can't make it by right now. Without job, I can't make it. Bila kazi siwezi kufanya. Sema kuna kama unataka njia nyingine ambayo mtoto asikunywe dawa ni afanyiwe bone marrow transplant. Nimetembea kwa county government, nimetembea kwa mbunge wangu Mohamed Ali, nimeenda mpaka kwa State House at least niweze kuonana na president akiwa hapa amekuja kufungua floating bridge. Nimekanyagiwa kabisa, sijamuona.
For Wangalwa and majority of Kenyans in such situations, their only prayer is to wake up to a corona-free country. Only time will tell. Until then, they will live to fight another day. For TV47 from Mombasa County, I'm Patronila Goren.
And as the effects of COVID-19 pandemic continues to ravage the country, it has exposed the unpreparedness of the government and Kenyans at large to effectively deal with the highly unpredictable pandemic. And as Daniel Masidza reports, a survey by OnePlus shows that only 21% of Kenyans were prepared for the second lockdown.
According to Kenyans we spoke to, majority of them were not ready for a second partial lockdown of the country, despite being aware it could be imminent due to increased cases of the third wave of COVID-19. They faulted the government for failure to put in place measures to cushion them from the effects of the pandemic.
Hatukuwa tumejitayarisha hata kidogo. Tulistukia kwa ghafla. Yaani hata kazi yetu imeenda chini kabisa. Hatupati biashara, imetu affect kabisa. Sasa tunategemea tu ile kidogo tumepata ndio tunajaribu kusqueeze. Sasa maisha imetulemea kabisa.
For the second lockdown, I was not really ready because I was thinking the economy was going to come up because the businesses were coming down. So the second lockdown, it's just like bringing the economy down more. And the near future, okay, it's not all about lockdown, but just you give us measures first on how to sustainable measures before you lock the country.
However, despite not being ready for another lockdown, some Kenyans support the move by President Uhuru Kenyatta for a second partial lockdown in 5 counties, saying the move was necessary to combat the spread of the virus.
They could have given us some time to prepare about that, and at least watuwekee measures mzuri. Mtu akiwa na mambo zake angekuwa ameweza kujipanga. So I don't know, I wouldn't say that the move is bad because they are trying to protect us actually, but at least there are other options that they could have used. It is good that they give people other options.
Ni lockdown hiyo iendelee, lakini ajaribu mambo na hii dawa ya corona watu wa mashinani ushago waweze kuipata.
I was not prepared for the second lockdown, but you see, God's ways you can't know. I'm just staying in the house. I'm supposed to work from the house and I'm analog, but we also have to think about the economy. Yes, there should be an opening so that the trades can go across the county.
A survey by One Pulse Kenya has similar findings. According to the digital real-time poll, only 21% of Kenyans were ready for the second partial lockdown. The study also reveals that 37% of Kenyans felt the lockdown is necessary.
21%, probably 21.5, 22%, said they were actually prepared for the lockdown. We just wanted to find out a barometer, just what do they think over most issues. And you can tell here, I think Kenya needs stricter lockdown this time. 81.84%, say 12% thought that Kenya needed a much stricter lockdown. 38% said they think the lockdown is necessary to curb the spread of coronavirus. So just with those two alone, you find that close to 50% of Kenyans really agree with the president.
The survey, which was conducted between the 29th and 30th of March 2021, involved 1,112 respondents aged between 18 and 65 years across the 47 counties in the country. Daniel Masiza, TV47.
Thank you, Daniel, for that report. It is half an hour past 9 p.m. Keep talking to us. Time for us to take another short breather. We'll be back with more after this break.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories. As the country gears up for possible BBI referendum and 2022 general elections,
as the salvos enter too familiar territory,
William Ruto will serve his 5 years term as the deputy president.
Pundits Night is here to give you powerful, thought-provoking political commentaries.
The mountain can produce a country.
Give Moses Kuria a chance to respond. Let me ask you this. Are you not taking advantage of first my situation?
You talk about the people with the ultimate power.
Kikuyus will vote for somebody from outside their community to be the next president of this country.
We talk to the newsmakers, the opinion shapers, and the pundits.
Fair enough. I believe
as we dissect everything you need to know to make an informed decision. How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates.
The position of the Prime Minister will go to a party with the most elected members.
I clearly know that neither Raila nor Ruto are in the work plan on the roadmap for transition as far as the government is concerned.
Informative health discussions, business, farming, Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs, and music bands.
Back to the seasons of my years.
Every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Did you know that your business keeps our economy running?
You need the skill, not the papers.
Always tell yourselves, one day at a time. You can't do everything under one roof.
Over time, I've had to realize that good things take time.
The Grind, every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Before the markets open, farmers begin their day, each with a desire to produce the best. But how can they increase the numbers, maintain the standards,
Aito ile garlic inafaa itoe, that standard garlic,
reduce the cost,
we spread our risk,
and yet remain the best? Kilimo Diaries, every every Sunday when the clock hits 7:30 p.m. Cut, chop, mix, steam, grill, fry. Only on the Throwdown every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Owning a home is a keystone to wealth. And building one can be quite daunting. Well, the realtor gives you the do's and don'ts.
There are so many brokers in the market who just want to tell you I can be able to supply.
And groundbreaking.
So we clear the area and we set out the place where the house is going to be laid down.
We talk homes, land, and property.
With me, Currency Daniel.
For Untold Stories.
Welcome back. Now, statistics from the Ministry of Health shows COVID-19 infections in the areas marked red zone have significantly reduced over the now close to 3 weeks of partial lockdown. However, the situation in the counties bordering the red zone is not as rosy. And as Zainab Mohammed now reports, infections in those counties are steadily rising as some Kenyans sneak in and out of the highly infected zones.
Following the enforcement of a partial lockdown in the 5 highly infected counties, statistics from the Ministry of Health shows in the past few weeks, the number of infections in those zones has significantly dropped. However, the country's curve is not dropping, and this could be why. A keen look at areas bordering the infected zones in about 12 counties, infection rate is significantly increasing, probably as a result of some Kenyans sneaking in and out of the highly infected zones. For instance, Kitui County, which continues to lead in infection rate in the bordering counties, has an increase of over 200 cases since the lockdown began. Kitui had recorded a total of 168 cases in the week leading to the partial lockdown. Since March 30th, Kitui has recorded a total of 405 new COVID-19 cases. This trend is seen in almost all the counties bordering the locked counties, with some having double or triple the number of cases before and after lockdown. Embu County, that had the least number of cases before lockdown, is now recording a high of 63 cases from a low of 15 cases, close to a 4 times increase. What these statistics prove is that if the national curve is to be flattened, the government now needs to shift its focus from the red zones to areas bordering it to curb the spike in COVID-19 infections. Zainab Mohammed, TV47.
Moving on, tension is high in Kambi Samaki in Garbatula sub-county of Isiolo County after 5 people were killed in what security agents in Isiolo have dubbed as a revenge attack. Isiolo County Commissioner Herman Shambi has blamed the incident on the lack of harmony between 2 communities whom he said have been arming themselves with illegal guns over time. In a press statement, Shambi said that security peace meetings involving elders will be conducted to reduce the tension between the 2 communities, and at the same time added that the investigations are going on to apprehend the attackers. Chiefs in the area are being accused of indirectly facilitating the insecurity.
Na kwamba ni kama kuna watu wamejiform kama militia ama kundi la kuchunga watu, na inakaa wananchi ama moja kwa moja au kwa kunyamaza ni kama wanaunga mkono mambo kama haya. Machifu wetu wamezunguka kila mahali kuambia wananchi waweze kurudisha bunduki voluntarily kabla hatujaingia kwa njia nyingine, lakini kunavyoelekea ni kwamba hizi bunduki ni nyingi na kama serikali hatutakubali bunduki kama hizi zikae kwa mikono haramu. Shida ikitokea hapa ni vizuri watu wa report. Ukienda Galbatula unakuta hakuna report yoyote rasmi ambayo imewekwa kule. Na yet hawa watu wako ile kituo kiko karibu zaidi ni Galbatula. Lakini wanaona kama hawa si watu wetu wa usalama, si askari wetu. Na hapo ndio kidogo tunaanza kupata shida, kwa sababu askari wako pale kusafu mwananchi wa Kenya popote pale. Amani nzuri ni ile inatoka kwa wale washikadau wenyewe. Mambo ya Ngoswe wakati mwingine achia Ngoswe mwenyewe.
From Isiolo County, let's get to the world of sports now and bring in sportsman Dennis Otieno, who is with us tonight. Dennis, what do you have for us tonight?
Well, thank you, Abubakar Abdullahi. Now, tonight we have a lot that is lined up for you. We shall be telling you about the FKF Women Premier League clubs that were earlier today inoculated at the Kasarani Indoor Stadium. We shall also be telling you about the results registered in match week 31 of the English Premier League, as well as what to expect in the UEFA Champions League. Now, this and more coming up in just a bit. A very warm welcome to Primetime Sports. My name is Dennis Otieno, and on to the top story in sports. FKF Women Premier League clubs were Tuesday afternoon vaccinated against the coronavirus at the Kasarani Indoor Arena as coaches and players called on the government to consider opening sports so that they can ply their trade and earn an income. Speaking during the vaccination process, Kayole Starlets head coach Joshua Sakwa lauded the inoculation initiative supported by Football Kenya Federation in conjunction with the Ministry of Sports and the Ministry of Health, saying it is a step in the right direction.
Kiangalia players wetu na makochi huku nje tuna struggle sana juu ya venye mpira imesimama. So chanje ikiwa inatupea motisha na inatupea morale ya kumake sure tunaweza rudi anytime kwa kucheza.
At the moment hatuko kwa uwanja. Kwa sasa inakuwa ngumu, ni wazazi watoi sasa wanatesa